Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like The Crew Mission Deep Sea. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, I'm going to tell you why I'm no longer ever going to play one of the most popular games that have come out in recent years, The Crew. That was about space, and it was a cooperative trick-taking game that took the world by storm, and today I'm going to tell you why and show you why I'm never going to play that game again because the sequel just came out. Let's take a look at the differences. If you have not played or you're not familiar with The Crew or trick-taking, click the link below where I do the review of The Crew and teach you how the general game works, because it's pretty much the same thing with some very interesting and very meaningful twists. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm not going to show you how to play this game. I'm just going to show you what's different between this and the original. If you haven't seen or you're not familiar with The Crew, you can click the link below where the video shows you how to play that. Now the first player token here is the captain token, and it's now sort of like a scuba diver versus a space theme. And as you might imagine, the rockets are now submarines, and this is the Trump suit, of course. And here's a glimpse of the difference of the artwork. Of course, it's more water focused than space focused. But the biggest change here is in the logbook and how the missions are played out and divvied out. So we have different missions, mission number 1, mission number 2, it kind of has some thematic thing, of course, like the other one, but this tells you the challenge level. So a challenge level 1 or a challenge level 2, for example, for the first 2 missions. Now, if we were doing a challenge level of 1 and we were playing with 3 players, we would just take this card. Now, if we were playing the challenge level of 2 with 3 players, we would take this card and another one because we need those to add up to 2. If we were playing with 4 or 5 players in a challenge level 2, we would just take this single card. So let's say we're playing with 3 players. We need a challenge level of 2. Here's 1. This goes over, so we won't take that card, but we'll take this one, because now we have a total challenge level of 2. So now we have these cards here, and starting with the captain and going clockwise, I'll take one of these mission cards. Now, in this case, there's actually less cards than the amount of players, so the captain could pass if he wanted to. Anytime there's like more players than cards, you can pass, but by the time it gets back to the captain before that, all the cards need to be taken. So here we have, I will win more yellow than blue cards, or I will win none of the first 3 tricks. So you can see that in the other older version of The Crew, these were just like suits and numbers. And that and the book itself would actually tell you what the trick was for that challenge. Where here, this just tells you the challenge, for example, but the cards are what tells you this. And this is hugely different because every time you play this game, even if you play the same challenge level, it's going to feel like you have a completely different challenge, because you will. And this is great because if you're playing with multiple different groups and you're starting from the beginning, every game is going to feel different, unlike the original Crew where all the challenges were the same. It was just a variant of which cards you had to take, which changed the difficulty. But here you're actually changing what you're trying to do in the challenge. That's a huge difference. Now, granted, some of the challenges actually do have some special things about it and things like that, but you're still taking those challenge cards, making everything very different. And there is only 32 missions in this, where the original had 50, but many of the missions were so similar towards the end in the original. And again, the replayability of having these always be much, very different cards and challenges makes this game even more way replayable, almost infinitely more than the first one. And I don't want to spoil the deck for you, but here's 6 more cards of the types of things you'll find in here. I'll win all the cards in at least one of the 4 colors. I'll win more tricks than anyone else. I'll win as many greens as yellow in 1 trick. I'll win none of those submarine trump cards. I'll win exactly 2 tricks. I'll win no number 9s. I'll win 2 tricks in a row. I'll win the blue 6 and yellow 7. There you have it. Those are the big differences in this new version of Crew, Mission Deep Sea. All right, now as I mentioned, The Crew, my gosh, I love this game. Now, I played this game right after it came out of Essen. I was lucky enough to be invited to a little convention that Bezier Games was hosting, and they brought it back. They were playing all these 200 plus Essen releases. There was plenty of people there. And this game was the one that got played the most. We had a whiteboard up on there. We were keeping track of all the team scores and how far teams got. And it was the game of the weekend. I knew it was special. And it was like a week or 2 before Board Game Geek, before the game like really blew up from the German copy. And I ordered it that day that we played it. And so I actually got like 5 copies for me and all my gamer friends from Germany. And I reviewed the game very quickly before the English version was out, and I was able to help bring this game to people's attention. I'm very excited about that because that's what we love to do as reviewers, is be on the early part of something exciting. And I love The Crew. It was in my top 10 games of the year. It's probably one of my favorite cooperative games, one of my favorite trick-taking games. It's amazing. But even with that being said, I'm never going to play it again. That's insane. That is just crazy. How can a game get rid of something that's that? Well, because the game is basically the same, except for the way that the challenges are done. And so with that being said, that's the biggest thing here. Because it can be taught to those who are, first of all, familiar with trick-taking games, and you'll do better if you play with those that have experience with trick-taking games. But you can teach this game on a challenge of 1 with people who haven't played trick-taking games before, and you can ramp them up slowly, and I love that aspect of it. Now, the challenges do start very easy, so it really allows itself to that. Now, the reason why I won't play The Crew again is because the way that the challenges work. In the original versions I showed in the overview, there's challenges, and there were certain mechanisms built in and baked into the different challenges, but when you flipped over the cards, it told you how many cards to bring out. Those were just like card numbers and suits. Where now, the challenge numbers are scaled to player count with the different challenge numbers, and now when you flip those cards, those are the main twists. Now, there are some different things that happen in some of the challenges and different things that you do, but even without those, now the cards are the challenges, which means infinitely replayable, and variability is off the chart, way more than the original. And because they scale it challenges by player count, I feel like the game scales better than the original. The original game, too easy at 3, 4 was just right, 5 was too hard. In this game, they've scaled that with the challenge cards and the challenge difficulty. Perfect. It's so much better with the different player counts now. Although I still don't really like it that much with 2, it's like okay. So the challenge cards have that variability baked in, and that is huge because the problem I had with The Crew is I loved it so much, but I constantly find myself playing with different groups of people, and I constantly am like bringing games to people that don't play games before, and The Crew is one of them. And I would always have to start from the beginning, which is great to teach them and great to put them in the hobby, and that's why I'm there and that's why I'm doing that. But it felt very samey to me. Now with the new Crew, even if I start at challenge level 1 and then 2 and then 3, it's gonna feel like a different experience because of the challenges baked in to those challenge cards. So it's like, hey, I can play this with a bunch of different groups and it will feel very different with every group. Amazing. This is exactly what the first one needed to do. I am so glad that they didn't just like reprint The Crew with 50 new missions. I'm glad that they like rethought about this, was like, how can we make this even better? And some publishers might be afraid to cannibalize their own success. Cosmos was not here, and I applaud them for that because I don't know anybody who's going to want to play the original Crew after that. And they're like, well, okay, because almost everybody that owns The Crew needs to go out and buy this anyway, and all new people are going to buy it. So it's like they realize what they have here, and I like that. Now, on the negative side of things, well, kind of negative. There's less overall missions than the original. The original had 50, this one has like 32 or 38 or something like that. But because the missions are all very different because of the cards, you actually have more replayability and variability than the original. On the negative side of things, yeah, the only negative thing is, well, the 2-player game isn't great. It's kind of tough. There are some 2-player trick-taking games that work well. There are some made for 2 that are great. But even the ones that aren't made for 2, there's some that work pretty good with 2 players. This one, because of the cooperative nature and the limited communication and having to see cards and stuff like that, it's just not great. I'd play a different game if I want to play 2-player. There's a 2-player trick-taking game out there called Claim. Probably the best 2-player trick-taking game that I've played. Anyway, this is fantastic. This is getting a Saxophone Serenade, and it is kicking out the old Crew. I never thought I would say that, but it is. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games by helping you find the next one you'll love. So let's induct it properly with a Saxophone Serenade. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.